Manchester United have appointed a new CEO who formerly worked at Manchester City, in the Man City group and at Barcelona. But what has this CEO had to say in interviews, specifically what he said about winning 5 titles in 10 years? He said it's winning 5 titles in 10 years since I've come into Manchester City is a result of a vision that the ownership had 12 years ago to develop a strong academy, to develop a specific way of playing football and to bring the right manager in for that type of football. We also needed to bring in the right players for that. Tixi Bargenston has been building the squad for many years and ensuring that we get the right squad balance and bringing youth from the academy. It is a combination of everything, plus all the work that goes in behind the scenes concerning injury management and prevention, and working with Pep and the coaching staff to ensure player rotation so that all the players can hit peak form at the right time. Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. In today's video, we're going to be diving into things the new Man United CEO has said in interviews about building a club, a vision, so you can get an insight into who this guy Man United have recently brought in is, this guy from Man City, what he said about, managing a squad, building a squad, rebuilds, why this guy is being hyped up as the perfect CEO, and we're going to dive into some of his interview quotes. But I want to give a big shout out to Fred Man Chazza on Twitter. Please do go drop this guy a follow and go like and retweet this tweet, because he has got a number of quotes from Omar's interviews down in this thread, so that way I don't have to go and find multiple videos and risk copyright by showing you the videos. We can dive into a number of quotes said by this guy, so do make sure you follow Charlie on Twitter at the end of this video. But let's dive in to Omar Berrada, his interview, what he has said. So diving into this first quote here, he spoke about, since he's come into City, they've won 5 titles in 10 years. He spoke about this vision of that the ownership had to develop the academy, to develop a perfect way of playing and bring in the manager to do that. That's exactly what Ineos want to do. They've got Brailsford here. They've got Omar here. They're going to establish how they want to play, what they want to do, and maybe Ten Hag won't be the manager to do that, and they'll be bringing in another manager. But on top of that, they also brought in someone to help with the recruitment side of things. We know Omar's coming in, but Dan Ashworth could still come in. Paul Mitchell could still come in to work alongside him. They want to put someone in that Murta role to find the recruitment, find the right people. And he spoke about how that's so important. You want to develop a way that you want to play. You need to get the perfect person to find those players. You need to have that vision, which we know that there isn't really a vision or an identity at Manchester United. You want to develop the academy. You want to manage injury, player minutes, put it all together. And that's exactly what Man City have done. And that's one of the reasons they had so much success. And this is exactly what Ineos want to recreate at United. They've brought in Omar. They want to bring in either Paul Mitchell or Dan Ashworth, maybe even both, have them all working together to achieve this vision that they'll have, which will be to develop the academy, to have a perfect style of football, bring in the right manager, get the right recruitment to do that. What else has Omar said about his achievements at Manchester City? He said, "We are very proud of the work the academy has done. The vision has always been to develop their best talent and create a pathway so the likes of Foden and others can break through and be significant contributors to the first team. To identify, recruit and develop local talent, and in some cases the young talent that has come from Europe like Eric Garcia speaks to the work of our academy director and the coaches have put in. We are very confident that there will be more players like Foden who will progress into the first team." He then speaks about the youth, their ideas to integrate the youth more. If you look at United's youth, Ahmed Ibrahimov, Shea Lacey, Isaac Hansen, Harry Almas, Jack Fletcher, a number of players that haven't even been given debuts yet, JC Fitzgerald, some of these 15, 16. Man United Youth Academy has won every single game this season. The under-18s, 12 points clear at the top of the Premier League under-18s as well. So United have got some great youth to come through, which is even better than City's at the moment. He said it's always been about the balance, about finding the right squad balance between young players who are at their peak, and players who can bring more experience. It's not just about investing in superstars. We like to find the right players, and with time, they become superstars because of the success of the team. This is massive for me. This is a massive quote, and this fills me with confidence. This guy knows what he's doing. Man United in the past have gone for those Galacticos, those superstar signings, those 30-year-olds on big wages. And he's saying it's not just about bringing in loads of young players with bags of potential, loads of superstars. It's about bringing in good young players that have a bit of experience, but they can become even better players. They can become superstars. He's saying it's about signing players that can become superstars. De Bruyne, when he joined, wasn't a superstar, but he could become one. Rodri, when he joined, wasn't a superstar, but he could become one. Man United try and sign these so-called superstars, and then they come to Man United and they're absolutely crap. He's saying building a squad is having the youth, but also having the experience. You need youth and experience, but also bringing in those players that will become superstars rather than going so much for those ready-made superstars. But every now and then you need an on top of the top signing like Haaland. He said it's about ensuring that we find players that can adapt to our style of play, believe in our culture in a place, and then buy into it. We are looking to make investments in players at different ages, levels, and players that could maybe blossom and reach the highest potential. They're buying players at different levels of experience, ages, but more importantly, they say it's about finding a player that can adapt to our style of play and believe in the culture. Something United haven't done. We really wanted De Jong. We didn't get De Jong. We got Casemiro, who's a complete different style of play to De Jong, so then we had to change our style of play. No dig at Casemiro, but that's an example. We buy players that don't necessarily suit the style of play that Ten Hag wanted to play, and then Ten Hag has to change his style of play. But also we buy players like Sancho that had a stroke when he had a fallout with a manager, that don't have the right attitude or any of that. And he's saying at City, they look at, bringing people in of all ages, having a bit of experience, but mostly going for young players that can develop into superstars, but making sure they have the right attitude, they can suit the style of play, which might be the basics, but it's so important. He said at City, we spend smartly. We have a clear plan. We are not reactive to certain situations. We have a very clear idea of what the valuation is for every player. We've said, and I think it has been demonstrated that when we think a deal doesn't make sense, we walk away from it. And when we think it doesn't make sense to sell a player because he can have worth, we don't sell. He is saying, we spend smartly. We think about things. We don't overpay. Man City were in for Harry Maguire at 40 million. But as soon as that price tag went to 50 million for Harry Maguire, Man City stepped away. Man City stepped away when they found out Alexis Sanchez's wage demands. Man United were willing to pay that. Man City will want a player, but when they think it's a bit expensive, they step away. If Man City can get a lot of money for selling a player, but they think this player's going to be of use, they don't. And then when they're offered 45 million for Cole Palmer, who'd played 4 first-team games, they sell. They sell Lavia for mass money. They sell players for good money, but they don't sell players out of desperation. They consult the manager, but they spend smartly. He's saying, we will look at players that we want to buy, and sometimes we'll think, they're not just quite worth that money. We'll have to look elsewhere. And sometimes I wish that is something United did. 85 million for Anthony when at least they had a 35 million release clause. He said, if our net spend is low comparatively to other rivals, I think we're 7th for net spend this season, and it's also been one of our lowest net spends of recent seasons. It's not a reaction to anything. It is part of our strategy. We knew the position we wanted to get, what players would potentially be sold, but also the work that has been done over the last years to build a very strong squad that doesn't require much investment to be keeping at the highest level. The Glazers would love this. He's basically saying at Man City, we spent all our money, FFP 115 charges, but they invested a lot in the early days, but they built the right squad. They invested enough in youth and players coming up with potential, and they've invested in a lot of young youth players that might not even play for Man City that they'll loan out. And if they don't think those players will be good enough for City's future, they might have bought these players for 5 million, but can still sell them for 15, 20 million. So they're actually making profit on a lot of the players that they buy. They're buying players for the first team. They're also buying young players that they think can reach first team levels, but if they don't, they sell them. And they're selling players well. They're buying players well. That City spent a lot of money to get the superstar squad, but are now in quite a sustainable place. We don't know where the money came from to afford the superstar squad to begin with, but they're now in quite a sustainable place where, their net spend is like 7th, whereas United's net spend is the second worst after Chelsea. He was asked about Ruben Diaz being the club record signing at 62 million. Man United, how many, Anthony, 85 million, Maguire, 80 million, all this money spent on players, but their record signing at the time was Ruben. But one of my favourite things he said, and what makes me confident about him being the new CEO of United, is he said this: a lot of times maintaining success isn't just about buying new players, it could be about setting new challenges for the existing squad. He said the transfer market has almost become a competition in itself. What you don't realise is the sheer amount of pressure you deal with. Yes, there's an element of transaction, the salary, the fee, the commission, but you're dealing with people who have dreams, fears, and who may have influences with their own entourage. You have to really try and understand who you're speaking to when you understand that you have a better sense of how to negotiate. And we know who's bad at negotiating deals: Man United. This is just a number of many things he said in recent interviews as City CEO. And I think just from those interviews, you can gauge that this is an intellectual man. If you actually stalk his Twitter, he's tweeting about United, their problems. This is a guy that's talking about not overspending, making sure you're buying players for the right amount of money, selling players, bringing in youth, bringing in a mix. You want experience, but you want young. You don't want to keep signing superstars. You want to sign players that you can develop, that have the right attitude, that align with the way you want to play. You want a vision where everyone at the club is on the same page about this vision, and you employ someone to do the recruitment for that. You employ someone to do this role, that role. We know from, I think it was Laurie Whitwell's great article, that those at United, that when Ineos came into United, when Brailsford came into United, he was surprised to find out that A lot of people at United who hire up don't know their roles. The club doesn't actually have a vision or identity or plan set in place. Ineos are going to come in, they're going to set in a vision. They've brought in Omar, they're going to bring in someone to do the recruitment side of things. They're going to have a plan, they're going to work together, they're going to bring in the right manager to do that, put that together. But hopefully he'll have this approach of, we're not going to just spend 85 million on Anthony, we're going to look elsewhere, and could have got Elise for 35 million, which is what Man City would have done. Bring in some young players, spend money more efficiently, because I will tell you this now, Manchester United are a massive club. The fact that we've managed to steal someone from Man City explains how big of a club Man United are. But if we get back to the top on the footballing side of the pitch, if we become good again football-wise, the amount of money we'll bring in on the commercial side will be even more than we're bringing in now. We're always top 3 for commercial revenue, despite being crap. If Man United get back to the top, if we have success on the pitch, the amount of money we'll bring in as a club is so big that we can just continue to invest, and stay at the top, as long as we have the right people at the top of the club with the right intentions. The Glazers are still here, but if they sat back and given Ratcliffe, this guy, maybe Paul Mitchell, Dan Ashworth, whoever comes in, control. These guys have the brains to know what to do to get United back to the top. And if United do get back to the top, and we'll make so much money that will be generating way more money than Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City could ever dream of, because we're the biggest club in the world and the biggest league in the world, that we could stay at the top. But we need people with the right intentions that are smart enough to do that. And this might be the guy. Anyway, I hope you like this video summing up his interview quotes. I did have the interview saved, but I just didn't want to get the interviews up on my screen because I didn't want to get in trouble with copyright or something. I didn't want to get too many clips up, so I thought it'd be better to read out quotes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video anyway. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.